Hey everyone, welcome back to BARQAR Bites. I'm Brad Smith, co-founder of BARQAR Marketing, and I'm joined today by Shaun Chojnacki. Shaun, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here, Brad.
So for everybody that is a listener to the show, you probably know that Shaun's new to the program here, but he's not new to the topic that we're talking about. Shaun is one of our SEO and digital experts here at BARQAR Marketing, and he's going to give us some insight into the changes that we're seeing. And our topic today is a question that I keep hearing, something that's been thrown around the circles for years, but it's getting extremely loud right now. And that question is SEO dead? Is this the final nail in the coffin for SEO? So every time we see a new tech trend hit, whether it's voice search, zero-click results, or now AI-powered search, and with ChatGPT coming out with their new browser, that adds another wrinkle to this. But people start sounding the alarm. But in my eyes, what's really happening here isn't the death of SEO. It's just kind of the evolution of where SEO is going. So, Shaun, let's dig into that topic a little bit. Why do people think SEO is dead? In your estimation, why is that picking up steam?
I think it's a two-part answer. It's number one, if you just consider the old way of SEO, Google, the whole foundation of that is changing. So in the past, you would make a search and you would usually get a website, which, if you have a question, they send you to a blog post that has an 1,100 word answer. That just isn't the way of the world anymore. If I'm looking for an answer, usually if somebody provides that answer quickly in a couple sentences or less, Google is now prioritizing that type of content. So it's zero click. They want to give you the answer without having you go somewhere. So that's part of it. The other part is what you mentioned, the evolution of ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and all these other LLMs. People aren't necessarily going and using Google as the end all be all anymore. They're using these other things to kind of create these shortcuts or, save time and get an answer quickly. So I think those are the top two things that we need to look at and talk about.
Yeah, and we used to always say content is king, and I feel like AI is changing that a little bit. It's not just content, it's making sure that you have the right content, that you have an answer to a query. And what's crazy to me with AI is those queries are getting longer and longer and longer. So in the past, if I was looking for dinner ideas for my meal at night, I might just type in like, "Hey, Google, what are some great dinner ideas for this week?" Now, that search is, hey, I need dinner ideas for this week. I've got a family of four. Here are all of our long list of food preferences. Here are our allergies. I need meals that are on the go. I need meals that could be put in a crock pot or a slow cooker or something else because I'm not home. I need something that could be easily reheated. I've got all these dietary and nutritional requirements. So this search now goes from a simple query to a paragraph. And I think that is what's changing SEO, AIO, AEO, which is a good transition here, Shaun. So I
Yeah.
just threw out a ton of different acronyms. So if SEO, search engine optimization, isn't dead, it's evolving. I know that we just launched a new white paper that talks about all of these other acronyms. We talk about AIO, AEO, and GEO. I'd love to break those down for our listeners here. So let's start with AIO.
Sure.
So, what is AIO and why is it important?
Perfect. AIO is AI optimization. And basically, that is when you type something into Google, you get an AI overview instead of a landing page. So it's like it may be like what you said. It's what is the best Mexican restaurant in the town of wherever you're in, and they give you an answer quickly as an AI overview, or or it may be like a list of three, but it comes in as an AI overview that has a little link embedded that could potentially still send people to your website, but it's just optimizing your content to to be done in a way that answers the questions that people are asking.
Yep. So I know years ago when SEO became, a thing initially, People were going through and they were just stuffing keywords in there. So they were
Yes.
thinking
I
about
was one of
every
them.
single possible keyword that related to their business. They're dropping it in their meta page keywords, dropping it in descriptions. Some people were even going so far as to create text that was the same color as the background of their website just to stuff stuff in there. We're not going down that path again, right?
No, it's all about so traditional SEO, I think now is more important than ever because you got to think we're going to talk about AEO and GEO in a second here, but LLMs still need to pull from a source. And if your website is strong and robust and current and relevant and you're constantly pumping out content, the LLMs are going to pull from that source. So it's arguably still more important than ever.
Yeah, and I look at it as, we want to be the encyclopedia or the trainer or the consultant on our area of expertise. What does our business really do at its core? I want to be the expert on that. And it's not about keyword stuffing. It's about being influential. It's about creating thought leadership. It's about a page authority or website authority and making sure that you are training the AI or the LLM on your area of expertise. If you become the expert in that area, you're gonna win at AIO. It's not about keyword stuffing. Think about it as what value could I provide to the market that I serve? And let's provide as much value as I possibly can. The AI and the LLMs are going to pick up on that, and you're going to be seen as more influential. You're going to be served up in those zero clicks more often, and you're going to win that AIO game.
Exactly.
So, Shaun, let's transition now to AEO. AEO is answer engine optimization. Talk us through that.
Sure. Yeah, it's answer engine optimization, but it's also creating content or creating a strategy with the end goal being if somebody asks a very specific question, ChatGPT will either give you usually a list of answers at GEO, or in some cases, they'll serve you up as the main answer. That is how you win AEO. And to do that, it's exactly what you said. You have to be as thorough as possible. You have to have content that supports the things that you do. I always say every website needs to have who you are, what you do, where you do it. And then after you have that, you also have to have proof that you do it well. And so if you're creating blog content and you're having FAQs at the bottom of that that further answer questions and support the content above, that's how you can get served up in AEO. If you write lists about your competitors, you're being, transparent as a business, and that could potentially serve you up on AEO. And there's a ton of other things that you can do as well.
Yeah. Now, I want to put this in terms of context for like a small business. Let's take
Yep.
a HVAC company or,
Sure.
doing heating, AC, something like that. It's no longer just winning the SEO game on like HVAC specialists or heating and cooling contractors in my area. It might be, who is the best HVAC specialist that focuses on carrier air conditioning systems in Buffalo, New York.
Yes. Or it could be pricing related where you do a blog post of like HVAC's under 8,000, or I don't have the full context, but things like
Yep.
that. If somebody searches in that way and you have that content, that's how you can get served up as the main answer.
Yeah, we're big fans here at Barker on a author called Marcus Sheridan. So he has a book, They Ask You Answer, and just had another book release too that builds on this concept. But basically, it's thinking about all of the questions that the typical buyer or client or person that you're trying to reach would ask, and then not being afraid to answer those transparently. Shaun mentioned things like pricing questions or listing your competitors. As small to medium sized businesses, we have to get over the fear of, oh my gosh, I could never put my competitor's name on my website or in an article or in an answer that I'm given. You're going to have to get past that because that's a great way to win that answer engine optimization and get in front of the people that you're truly trying to reach. So think about structuring content like Q&As, question and answers, like lists or listicles. Make sure that it's concise and to the point, but gives enough relevancy to the question where you could show up. And then even think about like things like voiced search or voice to text. People now are using chat and the other LLMs, and they're using voice a lot more. So you're going to see these search strings get longer and longer and longer, like we discussed. So think about those. Now, Shaun, I know we're doing some really cool things behind the scenes, and I think this is going to be a full other episode to come after this, but we're using things like Google Search Console and very specific search queries to look behind the scenes and see what small and medium-sized businesses could actually own in AEO. And we're building content around that, right?
Yeah, it's beyond the old ways of just using SEO software to find keywords. Because again, like you said, it's no longer about keywords. It's now about these really deep, in-depth queries that buyers or people doing their discovery are asking, and we have found a way to tap into those queries now and optimize for them. So it is really exciting.
Now, I mean, no pressure, Shaun. I just put it on you, but I'm going to have you back on for a future episode to dig into that one because that
I
is to
appreciate that. We'll
me
do.
that to me is a freaking gold mine, right?
It
Like
is. It really is.
we have such an opportunity to own those searches, to really get in front of the LLMs, to be the answer to all those questions that your clients, that your prospects are looking for. And to me, that's the way to earn inbound leads as we move forward.
It also gives you insight into things you've done in the past. Like if you are investing in SEO or if you have internal teams that are writing blogs that missed the mark, you may be sitting on page 3 through 10 of Google. You can use this data to figure out like, oh, hey, I had 10,000 impressions for this one blog. Why didn't I get any clicks? It's because it's not quite good enough, or it's not answering all the questions, or there's competitors who are doing it better than you. So using that data can not only help you with your content planning, but it can also help you optimize existing and past content as well.
Yeah, so there's like a science and a system behind this. It's not just throwing spaghetti at a wall. It's actually looking at the data and the traffic patterns and the flow and looking for opportunities, looking for the what's going to drive the most visibility and get you into being that authoritative answer. And that's what's really going to drive those leads. So,
Exactly.
all right, Shaun, let's talk about GEO now. I promise that's going to be our last acronym today.
Yep.
But
So
Generative Engine Optimization. I know this one, most marketers, a lot of business owners probably haven't heard yet. Some people are digging into it. What's GEO and why is it important?
yeah, and also too, if you listen to SEO folks on LinkedIn or on YouTube and stuff, a lot of folks too are speaking of GEO negatively, saying it doesn't matter or whatever. But it's pretty common. It's you when you ask some sort of query to ChatGPT or Claude or any of those, and instead of giving you one word answer, they give you a list. So like I'm looking, I haven't been to the movie theaters in 5 years. Who are some of the best movie theaters in my area? And they'll give you the list of 4 or 5 or whatever. And it doesn't really give you like a here's the top five, here's one. It's just like here's the answer and it's a list. Kind of figure it out from there. But the goal is how do I get on that list? Like if you're in a competitive market and you're doing something that, there's way more than 10 competitors, it takes that AEO a step further and it starts to bring in things like trust signals. Like, are there lists or listicles that exist in your area? Like if you're in a place like Chicago, the top 10 Mexican restaurants in Chicago, do those types of lists exist and can you get on those lists? Because that is really kind of what signals to GEO. There's also external sources like Reddit and Quora and Wikipedia and a bunch of others are people talking about you on TikTok and Instagram and so on. And so GEO is a lot of the fun, it's a lot of the work that you do on the AEO side, but a big portion of it is trust signals and things that come from outside of your website.
So, Shaun, it's really is it about reaching out to other places who have those lists together and trying to get onto that list?
The best way to start is to just pretend that you are your own target ICP. Like, how would they search to find my business and just
Yep.
go into ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever you want to use and just make the queries?
Yep.
Who are the best, whatever you're doing in the area that you're doing it? See the list, and then in that answer it gives you at the bottom, there's usually a button that says sources. Go through those sources and look and see what it's serving up. Is there like, do you have like a town, like there's like Travel Chicago or like a lot of places will have like those type of blogging websites. Look if there's opportunity to get featured there. Look if Yelp shows up. So if Yelp is, one or two of the sources and you're not on Yelp, you better get on Yelp and so on. Just go through those sources.
Yeah. And I will tell you, in my experience, getting on those little local lists, being nominated for local awards, making sure you're part of associations, making sure that you're in networking groups, things like that is a good way to do that. Now, one trick that I've used for a few of our clients is, like you just mentioned, Shaun, do that search, go into AI, whatever LLM you prefer, whatever chat you like, and run that search. Think about how someone would be searching for a business like yours. And I love that concept of looking at the sources, right? Because that's going to tell you where they're pulling information from. But then I have a conversation back and forth with the LLM or with chat, in this case, Chat GPT, and I'll say, all right, what credentials or what qualifications went into choosing who shows up on your list?
Yep.
And that LLM will give you the breakdown and the criteria. Sometimes you have to prompt it a few times and ask several questions to really get down to it, but you can prime it and it will tell you exactly what goes into getting on that list. Okay. Now, I've had one or two cases where clients met all of those things. So then I will prompt the LLM and I will say, based on your criteria, it seems like XYZ business should be on that list. Here are all the reasons why. Would you agree? And I've had chat come back to me and say, you know what? On further review, you're 100% right. This particular business should be on this list. And then I follow up with, okay, so moving forward, will you include them on the list? And it replies, yes, I think I will. So that is an interesting way to try to train the LLM. Now, will this work all the time? And could this be overused and everything? And could this change dramatically, next week? For sure. Right. But at least that will give you some insight into what criteria you need to work on. And I found that after doing that for one or two of our clients, they started showing up on that list 50 to 60% of the time. So huge, simple win. Took about 15, 20 minutes. And we started to train the LLM. Now, you're going to have to do all of those things that you just mentioned, Shaun. You're going to have to reach out. You're going to have to get on those other lists, everything else to continue that momentum. But at least that's a starting point.
The biggest question I always have is how do I get on those lists? So there's a lot of things that you can do. There's a lot of ways to do it. The easy answer is again, go into ChatGPT and just start to create a list, get like 5 to 10, and then it really is just it's old school. Just manually outreach to them. Say, this is what I'm trying to do. Hey, I feel like my business is a good fit. How can I get on this list? Sometimes it's as easy as, hey, can we get a backlink on your on your website? People are happy to trade. It may be a pay to play. It might be a couple $100 to get there, but it may be worth it because you just asked the question to chat and it is serving that up as an answer. So what is $100 or $200 to get a backlink and also to get shown now in ChatGPT? And then the other things might be just, hey, no, we did this for SEO reasons. Sorry, I don't want to include you. So it
Yep.
doesn't hurt to ask, but that's really the best way to do it. It's just old school outreach.
Love that. Love that. All right. Final segment of the show. Let's talk about how AI changes the game and really what businesses need to do now. So, in my mind, Shaun, all of this is the equalizer. So, AI, LLMs, answer engines, GEO, to me is a leveler for that smaller, medium-sized business. Because in the past, it was super hard to compete just on SEO alone. You've got these large organizations with these huge content budgets. We always used to say content is king, and they could produce this at scale, and it was really hard to play in that space. Now, with people getting more granular in their searches, using voice AI more effectively, long string searches and queries, I think small businesses actually have an advantage here because they can pivot more. Would you agree?
Absolutely agree. It's all about creating quality content at scale. And that doesn't mean, the best XYZ company in the world. It's drilling down and getting as deep and, as helpful as possible. If people have HVAC questions in whatever county you're in, do content that's facing like that. That's, common questions that people ask when looking for HVAC in the area that you're in, stuff like that. Big companies aren't going to have that. You're going to have that. That's your strategic advantage. And if people are asking those localized questions or the pricing questions, and if you have content that matches, you're going to get served as the answer in all the different ways that people search nowadays.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to run through. We're going to finish up with just maybe 4 or 5 things that every small and medium-sized business listening to this or watching this right now should do. And
Yep.
Shaun, I'm going to have you fill in the gaps here. All
Sure.
right. So the first thing that I want people to do is start thinking about and tracking new metrics. So before it used to all just be about keyword rank and how that equated to traffic back to your website. Um, no longer good enough. We need to look at snippet visibility. We need to look at AI overviews and mentions. We need to look at branded search volume. Shaun, anything to add there?
Um, just the overall structure of your site, making sure that your headers, your schema markup are in place. You're making sure that you're writing content for AI.
Yep. That's I think going to be my next point too. You mentioned a few times, and we talked about questions and answers. So the next thing on my list is creating FAQs and Q&A content. Um, we touched on it a little bit. I mentioned that we'll do a full episode around some of that. But Shaun, why are FAQs so vitally important?
So two things. Again, a lot of people that if you don't have a background in SEO, people just hear I need FAQs and they just randomly put a bunch of FAQs on their pages. FAQs are important, but they have to help and serve the content above. If you just randomly ask ChatGPT, hey, give me 10 FAQs for this page, and you don't really give it any context, you've now added 200 to 500 words of content to a page. If it doesn't improve upon the content above, it can actually hurt you. But if you're using real data for the queries that people are actually asking with real keywords, if you're internal linking to content on your site that exists, that is a game changer. That's how you get found in AI overviews. That's how you get picked up in chats and other LLMs. So it's important, but you have to do it right.
Perfect. All right. So far we've talked about tracking new metrics, creating FAQs, and being an answer engine. The third thing that I want everybody to do here is think about auditing your content and your website for AI readability. Shaun just mentioned it a little bit ago. That's making sure that you have structured headings, short paragraphs, schema markup. You need to make sure that you're making it as easy as possible for the AI or the LLM to parse your information and pull that in. Um, Shaun, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to offer up your time and my time here. If anyone listening to this or watching this wants a free audit of your website for AIO, for GEO, for AEO, for SEO, reach out
For
to us.
CRO.
Yes, conversion rate optimization. I promised people that we wouldn't throw another acronym out there, but I lied. But yeah, CRO is super important. But reach out to us. Go to barqar.com. It's BARQAR.com. Fill out the contact form. Tell us that you want a web audit, AIO audit, SEO audit, whatever acronym you use, we'll get it. But Shaun and I would be happy to put together an audit that breaks down the readability of your site for AI and for the LLMs. We'll probably most likely even put together a list of different content that you could and should create, and we'll dig deep and give you some insight into what you can do to win in this game. Um, and that kind of bleeds into the final thing that I want you to do, which is number 4, and that's focus on authority. Shaun, you knock people over the head in our internal organization here on a concept called topical authority. If you don't mind, real quick, give us an overview of topical authority and how that's kind of the key to winning everything that we just discussed.
Yeah, it's like the back end unofficial metric of Google. They basically track like how knowledgeable are you in a topic and how well do you kind of showcase that. So if you're a business and you have a specific service line, number one, do you have a landing page for it? Because if I'm looking in Google and it's just a line item on my homepage, that isn't a good user experience for me to kind of get an answer or to get more information about it. So that's where it starts. Is there a step 2 from your homepage to kind of develop on your services or your products or any other main questions or things that drive revenue and leads? And then expanding upon that way further, things that we just talked about. Are you creating blog posts now to reinforce your skill set and to kind of educate people who are in the discovery process? Or just if are you creating location versions of those services? and so on. And every time you do that, if you internal link back up to that service, you're signaling to Google, hey, I think this content up here is super important. And so doing that at scale and on repeat is how you win. Again, it's some folks just may have it as a line item on their homepage. You're never going to win or compete if somebody has a service page and 6 blogs and a LinkedIn article, and they're featured in other different, like you said, like if they're a part of groups or stuff like that, and they're getting guest posts. It's taking your content step 2, 3, 5, 10, and so on.
That's gold, Sean, and that's what it really boils down to, right? SEO isn't dead, but there's one of the biggest, most monumental mind shifts that as online marketers we have to realize is that SEO success isn't just about rankings. It's not about clicks anymore. It's about influence. It's about being the answer. It's about being quoted. It's about being trusted. It's about being on those listicles. It's about being a topical authority expert. And Sean just mentioned we are happy to go through your site and audit those things. Look at what you need to do to get there. So reach out to BARQAR. Again, it's BARQAR.com. Reach out to us. You can get on my calendar, on Sean's calendar. We have several other internal team members who are experts at AIO, GEO, SEO, AEO, any acronym that you want. But we're happy to put together that script and that strategy and that plan to get you to a point where you're not only leveling the playing field, but now you're leapfrogging other competitors in your market, that you're showing up in AI search, in traditional search, that you're the answer and you're the business that people are going to find that answer and to close more sales. So with that said, Sean, I think that wraps up today's episode. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks everybody for tuning in to BARQAR Bites. Subscribe wherever you are seeing this. If you're on YouTube, click that subscribe button. If you're listening on your podcast player, subscribe. And Sean's going to be a frequent guest, I think, here on our podcast because things are changing at a rapid pace. So make sure you come back and look for all those tools, strategies, tips, tricks that are going to help you become more visible in your market, in your industry, and win more business. So, Sean, again, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brad. I appreciate you having me, man.